Michelangelo Merisi de Caravaggio was born in 1571 in Milan, into a world already haunted by plague, religious upheaval, and the tightening grip of the Counter Reformation. His life began under the shadow of death. When he was only a child, the plague swept through northern Italy and killed his father. Loss entered his story early, and it never truly left. From a young age, Caravaggio seemed drawn not to harmony, but to tension. At 13, he began an apprenticeship under Simone Peterzano, where he learned the techniques of Renaissance painting. But while other artists were obsessed with symmetry, perfection, and heavenly calm, Caravaggio was searching for something raw. He did not believe in beautified illusions. He believed in reality, harsh, human, flawed. Around 1592, he arrived in Rome, poor and unknown. Rome at the time was the center of artistic power, dominated by established masters and heavily influenced by the Catholic Church's demand for emotionally powerful religious imagery. Caravaggio struggled at first. He painted still lives, boys with fruit, musicians, intimate scenes, almost sensual in their realism. His figures were not heroic ideals. They were ordinary people pulled from the streets. He used live models, prostitutes, beggars, laborers. He painted their dirt, their calloused hands, their tired eyes, and he lit them with a violent beam of light cutting through darkness, a technique that would later be known as tenebrism. It was dramatic, theatrical, almost cinematic centuries before cinema existed. His breakthrough came when Cardinal Francesco Maria del Monte became his patron. Under this protection, Caravaggio received major commissions, including the Contarelli Chapel in the Church of San Luigi dei Francisci. There, he painted the Calling of St. Matthew and the Martyrdom of St. Matthew. These works shocked Rome. Saints no longer floated serenely in golden halos. They stumbled. They recoiled in fear. They looked like men you might meet in a tavern. Christ entered the room like a silent beam of light, pointing not with divine perfection, but with quiet intensity. The realism was unsettling. Some viewers were outraged. Others were captivated. The church wanted art that stirred emotion, and Caravaggio delivered with a punch. But as his fame grew, so did his violence. Caravaggio was notorious in Rome. Police records show frequent arrests, carrying illegal weapons, insulting officers, throwing stones, attacking men in the streets. He lived recklessly. He fought over games of tennis, over insults, over nothing. He was often wounded, often imprisoned, often bailed out by powerful patrons who saw in him something undeniable: genius. His paintings during this period became darker, more intense. Judith beheading Holofernes is not symbolic violence. It is graphic, immediate, horrifyingly real. Blood spurts. Judith hesitates. The execution feels personal. In the supper at Emmaus, Christ is not a distant deity. He is flesh and bone, illuminated in a moment of revelation. Then in 1606, everything changed. Caravaggio killed a man during a violent clash with Ranuccio Tomasoni, possibly over gambling debts or a dispute tied to a woman. Caravaggio fatally wounded him. It may have been meant as a maiming, but it became murder. Rome sentenced him to death by beheading. Anyone could execute him and claim the reward. Overnight, he became a fugitive. He fled Rome and began years of wandering. Naples, Malta, Sicily, always painting, always running. In Naples, his style became even more brutal. The 7 works of mercy is crowded, chaotic, full of suffering bodies tangled in dim light. His saints now carried exhaustion in their faces. Salvation felt distant. Light was thinner. In Malta, he sought refuge with the Knights of St. John. There, he painted the beheading of St. John the Baptist, one of his largest works and perhaps his most haunting. Blood pools on the ground. The executioner hesitates. The scene is cold, restrained, suffocating. Caravaggio signed a painting in the blood spilling from John's neck, the only work he ever signed. It was as if he saw himself in that martyr. For a moment, he seemed close to redemption. He was knighted. It looked like he might rebuild his life. But violence followed him again. After another violent incident, he was imprisoned in Malta. He escaped, dramatically, mysteriously, and fled once more, stripped his knighthood, declare a foul and rotten member. He moved through Sicily, painting altarpieces heavy with sorrow. His figures became elongated, isolated, swallowed by negative space. The compositions felt emptier, bleaker. There's a sense in these late works that Caravaggio was painting not just religious scenes, but his own spiritual exhaustion. Eventually, in 1609, he returned to Naples. There, he was attacked and badly disfigured, possibly by enemies connected to Malta. His face was slashed. Rumors spread that he was dead, but he survived. By 1610, he believed a papal pardon was within reach. He packed several paintings, possibly including David with the head of Goliath, in which the severed head is widely believed to be a self-portrait, and set sail north toward Rome. He never arrived. Caravaggio died in July 1610 at the age of 38, under mysterious circumstances. The official record claimed fever. Some historians suggest malaria. Others suspect assassination. There are theories of revenge killings or untreated injuries. His body was reportedly buried in an unmarked grave along the Tuscan coast. For centuries, no one knew exactly where he died. He vanished almost as violently as he had lived. For a time after his death, his reputation dimmed. The classical style regained favor. Caravaggio's raw realism was seen as too crude, too unsettling. But artists across Europe had already absorbed his influence. Rubens, Rembrandt, Velázquez all felt the impact of his radical use of light and psychological intensity. Today, Caravaggio is considered one of the most revolutionary painters in Western art. He dragged sacred art into the real world. He stripped away idealization. He illuminated the divine within the ordinary and the broken. His saints bleed. His Madonnas look tired. His heroes tremble. And through darkness, a single blade of light reveals everything. Caravaggio lived only 38 years. In that short time, he changed the direction of painting forever. He painted like a man who knew death was close. He painted sinners because he was one. He painted light because darkness followed him everywhere. Caravaggio was not merely a master. He was a genius on the run, from the law, from his enemies, and perhaps most of all, from himself.